What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Swagcast. Today we have an incredible guest, an up-and-coming pro MMA fighter, Micah Dynamite White. What's going on, Micah? How we doing, baby?
Oh, brother, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I wasn't too familiar with you until a brother, Wolfpack came through. He put me on to you. I checked out a bunch of your amateur fights, and brother, you have a lot of amateur fights. So that's like the
Yeah,
first thing I wanted to ask. Like coming in from amateur, you had a bunch of amateur fights and you killed it in amateur. What was the biggest difference from amateur going into your first pro MMA fight?
you know what? It's a great question. First of all, shout out my boy Wolfpack. Appreciate you putting me on, my boy. No, man, the thing with having the amount of amateur fights that I had, it made the transition to pro that much easier, especially being under a promotion like Fury Fighting Championship. They have the same walkout, it's the same cage, you're in the same locker room. Like, really, nothing is different besides the professional rule set, which is, you get elbows, you get some different submissions. It's 5 minute rounds versus 3 minute rounds. Other than that, it's basically the same. It's funny, actually, in my pro debut, I totally kind of forgot about elbows. I took the guy down and he elbowed me from the bottom, and I was like, "Oh wait, we can elbow. Okay, so let me throw a few." So he probably shouldn't have elbowed me because I would have probably completely let him off of that. But yeah, I think the experience in amateur helped make that transition to pro super smooth and easy.
Yeah. So now I want to go way back. Now I want to talk about what like first even sparked your interest into MMA. A lot of, especially we see nowadays, a lot of guys coming up. They were youth wrestlers, and that kind of got them into it because this is really like the the only way to like get to superstardom from wrestling. You don't really get this kind of stardom that you can in MMA from the Olympics. So, but what was your path to MMA?
Yeah, man. So started mixed martial arts when I was 5 years old. I was obviously always smaller, used to kind of get bullied a little bit. And so my parents just kind of threw me in it. I did like soccer and like T-ball when I was like 3 and 4, just kind of trying different sports. And they just put me in just basic, just like karate, Jeet Kune Do to be more specific. It was literally 2 minutes from the house. And from there, I just fell in love with it. Started to learn, number one, how to protect myself and kind of gain that confidence of, if something were to happen in the real world, not that I can beat everybody up, but I can at least not get hurt more than I would have if I didn't know martial arts. And that kind of hooked me. And then, my whole family, we just have that competitive gene in our blood, and we compete at everything we do, whether it's Uno or, whatever it is. And so, man, started just competing. I actually started competing with jujitsu first when I was around 7. Did that for maybe 2 or 3 years. Then I transitioned into amateur boxing, competed in that. I did Golden Gloves, Junior Olympics, a lot of just local amateur fights. Um, and then that transitioned me into, once I got to high school, wrestling, and wrestled all 4 years in high school. Was able to be pretty successful in that. And then it all kind of came together. Each individual kind of focus came together to, now obviously being a professional MMA fighter. And each one of those disciplines was awesome to break up. And you need all of them to be successful in MMA. So, I'm glad I had the path that I did. Nowadays, you see it's a lot more common. You see a lot more of the kids in MMA and kids in wrestling. It really wasn't as common. My generation was kind of around that first generation to like start as a kid, but then continue it. A lot of kids fall off once they get to middle school, high school, and go to baseball or football or basketball. But nowadays, man, you're starting to see the game is changing. You're seeing all these new 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids that are animals, man, competing, if not beating up the grown men. So, it's awesome to kind of see the sport evolve in the same sense that I took, since I was a kid.
Yeah, bro. There's a 14-year-old at my jiu-jitsu gym that constantly chokes me out. Like I have like no answer for them. They're nasty with it, and they're smaller than everybody, but they do it to everybody too. Like they're only a white belt, and they're doing it to the blue belts, the purple belts. Like they're ferocious with it. You can't stop them, and they're only 14, so like you
Right.
don't like want to feel bad about like trying to turn it on or like fucking I'm going for the heel hook, like like you don't want
Exactly.
to. So
Exactly.
okay, so you had like your path is crazy because you hit like everything that you need to like be a mixed martial artist, especially a pro mixed martial artist in today's like day and age because everybody has everything. There's you really the last like one kind of bread and butter type guy was Damian Maya, and you
Mhm.
don't really see that anymore. There's really no like really successful fighters that only have like one type of background. So that's awesome.
Right.
So what or who or what event did you first like watch that was MMA that made you like kind of consider this as a career path? Because even though you were in
Yeah.
it, maybe this wasn't always like your the main career path for you. Maybe you had some other options.
Yeah. You know, once I started it, um, I mean, obviously, it started off as kind of like a hobby, and like I said, just a self defense. Once I was around 7, man, I was like, you know what? I want to shoot big. I want to be the best in the world at this. I want to be in the UFC. I want to compete. I want to make it to the highest level. And so I would just always watch UFC in general growing up. I don't really have the same story as like someone's like, man, I watched UFC, this, and this, and it sparked me because I kind of started training on my own terms. But in general, though, I used to go to the promotion I fight for now. It used to be Garcia Promotions, and so I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old going to these local shows, and like, man, like obviously I'm this little 40-pound kid, but I can't do nothing now. But I'm like, man, you know what? Skill wise, I'm like, if I was the same size as these dudes, like I feel like I can do good at this, and I'm like, one day I am going to compete here. I'm going to be under this promotion. I'm going to be in the same exact arena. And it's crazy, actually, man. My debut, my very first fight, it's the only time I fought here, was the same exact venue that they used to have all the shows at when I was a kid at the Humble Civic Center. And so, literally, being in the back room in the locker room for the first time, it was like kind of a little fanboy in me too. Cause I'm like, man, like I used to always dream like of what this part of it was like. I was just a little kid watching the walk these banger fights, and that's it. You don't get to see the behind the scenes. And so being back there, I'm like, oh snap! I kind of connect the dots a little bit. Obviously, the walkout and everything was all the same, and man, that was super dope. So yeah, man, just kind of grew up watching the exact same promotion I'm in now, as far also with the UFC, and it didn't really convince me to do the sport, but it just solidified, like, man, this is what I want to do. It just solidified it even more.
Yeah, that's awesome. That like so you were like 7 and 8 years old watching the same exact promotion that you now fight for today.
Yeah.
So do you kind of look at yourself as like you grew up watching this promotion and now you're under this promotion? Do you kind of have like now I wouldn't necessarily say a chip on your shoulder, but like do is there some kind of like weight on your shoulders like oh, I have to make a big impression like I could be the face of this promotion. Is there any of
Yeah, I
that
mean,
going on?
I think I definitely feel like it's going to happen. I wouldn't say it's as much of a pressure as much as it's kind of all a part of the plan. Like I was a kid watching these shows, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna fight and I'm gonna be successful. And at first I was winning the amateur title, becoming one of the best amateurs in the country, best in Texas. Did that. Now it's like, all right, we're gonna transition to pro, and we're gonna try to do the same thing. Work our way up the rankings, one fight at a time. If we win, we keep on winning. We lose, we reset. We get back with the team, and we kind of reset from there on how is this journey to the top going to be. And I definitely feel like it's going to be under this promotion, and it's just a more of a matter of when, not if. And I'm very excited. I have a relationship with some of the promoting stuff just from being around growing up. Not that I get any kind of special treatment or anything, but I think everyone, we all get along, and I think we're all on the same page of, man, let's use this as a path to get to the big show, because there's so many different regional promotions nowadays, man, trying to fight for up and coming talent, and it's like, look, I want to represent you guys. I want to be on your roster. So help me help you, and you guys help me, and let's get each other to the next level. You help me get to the next level. We find the right fights. Give me the right kind of you know, attention as far as, the eyes, get me on the right broadcast, get me on the right cards to get the right eyes on me to boost me to that next level. And then you'll just have another guy from your roster in the UFC, which ups their stock as a promotion incredibly, so it's kind of like a help me help you relationship with them. And it's been going really good so far.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so now I want to jump into the pro career. You're 1-1 right now. You won your pro debut, but what do you believe went wrong in the last fight?
You know what? So with the last one, it was it was really weird. It was something that I've never truly experienced while being in the cage. And it was weird, man. Like, so after weigh-ins, I was throwing up really bad. My body couldn't really hold in any water, any food, like not even liquids. Before I even tried to eat, I was throwing up. It was weird, man, how my body was reacting. And I thought I had recovered enough to still feel good for the fight. But man, right when the fight started, I just felt like as if I was fighting underwater.
Hmm.
Like, couldn't get nothing going. My speed just felt zapped. I literally just felt like slow motion as if I'm like in mud kind of fighting. And I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know how to really do it. But I was like, you know what? I really wanted to showcase my striking. I really feel like I could have gotten him out of there within 2 rounds with my striking. But my body feeling that way, I was like, man, I just got to try to edge out and do just enough to win because my body is not feeling good right now. And I don't know what's wrong. And we can just do enough to win. We'll go forward and we'll kind of reassess from there. And I felt like I did that. I would not have been happy with my performance even if I won because I felt so bad. But I still felt like I did enough to win. It was a boring fight. I did not feel like, I fought good or impressive by any manner. That's not how I want to be seen or recognized when someone hears my name as a fighter. And, but under the circumstances, I just wanted to, do enough to win without getting caught or knocked out or finished. And I felt like I did that. I feel like I still, I got robbed. Um, I feel like if I fought him 10 more times, I would beat him 10 out of 10 times. It's just that one time that my body was off and the judges saw it the other way. Props to him. He had to do what he had to do. But that kind of stuff is never going to happen again. I think we're going to get with the right people, see some different kind of, nutritionists and different things to make sure my body's at its peak performance. And, we only learn, we only grow. It sucks. I hate to have that L on my record, especially to that guy that I feel like I know uh, I'm way better than him. But God has it all under control. So yeah, it was supposed to happen. I don't know exactly why, but if anything else, it's just fueled me and lit that fire that kind of crap's never gonna happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, how much weight do you cut?
So that's what really tripped me out was I don't even cut that much weight. I'm actually trying to put on more weight because I cut my body weight so low with wrestling throughout high school. And I cut maybe I started camp around like 140 at the highest, but by the time I'm cutting, I cut from like between like 133 and 135. So not too much, no more than 10 pounds. And the weight just kind of flew off. I only had to do like 2 different tub sessions and lost like 4.5 the first one, 3.5 the second one. And I don't know if that was a problem in itself. I'm not some nutritionist or scientist or something, so I don't really know. Um, but that's what's weird. That's what we don't know. But that's a part of the experience too. It's not just the fighting; it's the cutting. I feel like I had a good camp, so not too much in the training because I bust my butt every day, 2, 3 times a day. Um, so I think if we get with the right people to try to figure out what went wrong with my body and its performance, then I think we'll be good.
Yeah, so I like to ask people these questions all the time about weight cuts. I just had Tim Elliott on last week, and
Oh yeah,
he had me going crazy with some of the shit he was saying about weight cutting. So now,
oh
is
yeah.
there any like thing special that like you drink or eat after weight cut that like kind of like gets you feeling healthy or is better for your body to go in first. A lot of people say that like they wouldn't drink straight water after weight cut. They always put something into it.
Yeah. And I feel like that's where I messed up. I feel like my body wasn't really receiving anything. I tried like, from wrestling, it's like just water, Pedialyte, simple. And I've never had a big weight cut to the point where I needed to be strict on that kind of stuff. Um, and I think my first time, this is the biggest cut that I've had. And I was focused more on cutting the weight than the rehydration. And since my body couldn't hold anything down, it was more of just like, okay, we just need to get semi healthy because it got to a point of, I wasn't going to pull out the fight unless I felt, I didn't get any better. But knowing next time, like, that's the kind of, I want to seek out those kind of advice to see what I need to be putting in my body before, leading up, and right after. Because it's not something I've really had to worry about without having to cut too much weight. But now, obviously, my body's growing. I'm putting on the size, I'm putting on the muscle, and so now I have to adjust accordingly with the weight cutting. And I feel like that was the main thing with this last fight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So now how do you handle a loss like so early into your pro career? Like I know especially in MMA losses don't really matter. Like not one, not two, not three, like a small amount of losses like that you can always come back. Like we've seen people like Charles
Yeah,
Oliveira go on crazy losing streaks and then be pound for pound best for a little bit. So now how
right.
do you take a loss early in your career and handle it to get ready for the next fight?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. I mean, I think it's tough. It sucks. I hate losing at anything. Like I said, super competitive, whether it's freaking Uno or if we're playing the PlayStation or if it's wrestling or if it's fighting, whatever it is, I hate losing. And you know, I'm honestly glad that it happened so early because once people look back, they're like, "Oh man, I'm 21 years old. That I'm as far as in the scope of the sport, I'm still super young. I
Mm-hmm.
am a man, but I'm still like a kid when it comes to this sport, if that makes sense. Especially being a flyweight, you know, my body's still developing, still growing, still maturing in different aspects. And I'm glad it happened early because it's different of being, uh, losing now and going on a 3, 4, 5 fight streak and we're right back where we want to be. Versus if I'm 7, 8-0 and it's my contender series fight or it's my championship fight for Fury to go to the contender series or to the UFC and then I lose. Now it's like, you know, dang, now we really have to reset. Now people are like, man, you win after I win this next one, it's gonna be like this will never happen. It'll be on the record, but it's like, 2-1, 21-year-old pro. What's next for him? Then you get to 3-1, 4-1, 5-1. Then it's like it doesn't really matter. So take it to fuel me and light that fire and adjust more the professionalism stuff of the weight cut and the diet and the nutrition and the recovery aspect of it, and then just be me with the fighting. And I feel like the biggest thing that loss did for me, man, was take a huge weight and pressure off of me. Because having one loss as an amateur, and now it's like, all right, we're back undefeated. Let's get this streak going. Let's get 5, 6-0 and get to the UFC. It kind of slowed it down a little bit. Like, okay, relax. We have all the time in the world. It's not a rush to the UFC. Let's take it one fight at a time. Let's give every fight its full attention, full focus in every single aspect of the game and of your life. And we'll just take it one fight at a time. Whenever that lands into contender series of the UFC, it does. But slow down. I'm like, man, 2 years, I get 5, 6-0 and I'm there. But now it's like, okay, let's reset a little bit. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but now with that pressure off of hurrying up again to the UFC and being undefeated, I got that L on my record. So now it's like, bro, let's just fight. And I feel like that Micah that doesn't have any that kind of pressure and that can just flow and have fun and just turn up, he's the most dangerous. And that's what you're gonna see coming forward.
All right, so that also humbles you too, and not only is it humbling, but also every loss is a lesson, and you learned a very valuable lesson into where you do have to start looking into nutrition a little bit more. and
Yeah.
and that would be crazy if like you were 6-0, make it to Dana White Contender Series, then this happens to you.
Right.
Then the nutrition thing kicks in. But now you'll be
Yeah.
prepared and you'll be ready, and I'm sure you'll get more lessons along the way because you're still a very young fighter in the game. So
Absolutely.
what's the current roadmap look like?
You I think just like I've been saying, it's just one fight at a time. I think I have my goals and I have the ideas of how to get there. I feel like if I look too far ahead, it's just going to hinder what's going on now. I feel like if I had to realistically lay out a map, I think in the next, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, rack up a good record, climb my way through the ranks, take the right smart fights to the point where we get up to a title fight under Fury, whatever record that is, whatever how many fights that is, we get to a title fight, we win the title in Fury, we go to Contender Series or we get a short notice fight, we get to UFC. And the thing that I want, man, is I don't want to get to the UFC and be one of those guys that shows, man, he doesn't really belong. He got his chance, but he's going right back to the regional scene, 0-2, and he's gone. I want to be there and I want to make a name for myself and I want to be successful there. So I just want to take my time and do it right in the regional rankings, kind of like I did as an amateur. And so once it flows over to that next level, I'll be ready and I'll be prepared to be successful whenever the big lights are on and the big eyes are on. Because what's all this work if you just get there just to not really show who you are, So just kind of take one fight at a time, and wherever I'm supposed to be, that's where I'll end up.
Mm-hmm. So now, would you say the UFC comes calling, and they offer you like a fight on like crazy 5 days notice? Is that like automatic take? And I'm not talking about like right now. I'm talking about like maybe a couple fights down the road. But like
Yeah,
5 days notice, is that an automatic take, or like do
I'm
you think
taking it.
about it a little bit?
Oh, I'm taking it
Take it right
because
away.
this is it, man. When you take this is the thing. The Contender Series, climbing up through the regional promotion, Ultimate Fighter, all these different things are trying to punch your ticket to the UFC. If you get a short notice call, the ticket is handed to you, and it's a win-win scenario. If you win, boom, you just freaking won your first UFC, your debut. You're in the UFC, you're locked in. There you go. You just kind of skipped ahead. If you lose, you took a fight that you weren't supposed to win, no matter who you're fighting, because you took a fight on short notice. They bring you in as a filler. You're doing the company a favor. So you're showing the company, like, hey, even if you guys need me, it might not be look the best odds for me, but I'm here for you. They respect that. And it's like you're in the UFC regardless. If you take a short notice fight and you lose, it's not like, all right, boom, you're out. You're like guaranteed at least one, usually two more, even if you lose, to like, all right, hey, you did this for us. Now we're going to give you a chance on a full camp, full preparation to fight again. So your ticket's punched. So honestly, I feel like that's one of the easiest ways. Not that not the easiest way to win, but you're in no matter what, win or lose. Usually Contender Series, you have to. That's the biggest fight of your life. Now you can't even just win. You have to perform. You have to show out in order just to get a chance to fight in the UFC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I got the short notice, I'm taking it. No hesitation.
Yeah, there's so many ways to get into the UFC now. There's Dana White's Contender Series. They still do the Ultimate Fighter, and they used to have the show for a while. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was called like it had a dumbass name. It was like So You Want to Be a Fighter or something, and it was like
Yeah,
Matt,
and
Sarah, and the other dude.
look, it was looking for a fight.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but there's so many ways to get like into the UFC now. They're everywhere and they have so many different kinds of scouts. Um so now moving forward, what are kind of like your ultimate goals from MMA? Like not just making it to the UFC, but even beyond that.
Yeah. So honestly, my main number one goal is I just want to do what I am most capable of. And everyone's like, man, I want to be UFC champion. I want to be financially free. I want to be this, and that. I just want to know that I gave it my all. And wherever that takes me, man, what else can you do? Now, if I get everything the way I want, obviously, yeah, everyone wants to be UFC champion, right? But man, if I can be financially free to the point where I can provide for me and my family, if I can make a name for myself and be successful and be happy with the road that I took and the success that I made during this sport, then it'll all be worth it. But then also another goal, man, is like I'm a coach full time also with wrestling, and I want to one day own my own gym and be a head coach for MMA as well because I love the coaching side of things. And honestly, I feel like a big part of me fighting is kind of building my resume as a coach. Man, yeah, this guy's a coach, but he did this, and this. He's a professional fighter. He's a UFC fighter. This, and that. You get those accolades to kind of boost your name as a coach before you have the athletes to speak for yourself. And I would love to be able to have that platform one day, just inspire people through my journey, connect with people, and to eventually, like I said, coach and pour into that next generation to try to, use my talent and my knowledge and my skills to help somebody else reach their best potential as well.
Mm-hmm. So now you currently fight at flyweight, and
Yep.
the flyweight division was once a division that was almost completely scrapped by the UFC. Do you see yourself as a guy that could like save the flyweight division? And now, when I say save, I don't mean it needs saving right now. I think it has
Yeah.
a very nice roster of young talented guys and even veterans in the top 15. But
Yeah.
more what I mean, like, would you stay in flyweight even with the history, or and try to grow it more, or do you have plans of moving up to bantamweight?
Yeah, no, I feel like I feel like I can do very well for the sport and for whatever promotion I'm in. I feel like I'm very marketable. I feel like I have the look, I have the, personality, and I can fight. And, those are all good things to build a future star or a good name. And, I feel like if I'm utilized well and if I get the right fights and the right mic time and the right exposure, I think it can bring a lot of good eyes towards the division and the company as a whole.
Yeah, no, you remind me of a younger Sage Northcutt, and
Uh,
take that as a compliment. I know we've
I'll
seen
take.
Sage get KO'd a lot, but take that as a compliment. And
Uh,
they at one time were trying to build the company around Sage, and
yeah,
until he lost. But
yeah,
he did, they did take his look and his image and that baby face and really try to push it. And it worked
yeah,
for a little bit.
yeah.
Oh god, they were pushing
No,
Sage Northcutt and Paige Van Zandt at the same
it
time.
it did, right? But it's the thing is that's why I want to do my part because that's a perfect example actually, and I've talked about this a lot, even like with my dad and stuff. Like the reason why I'm saying like once I get to the UFC, I want to be successful. The UFC can only do so much. For example, you see guys like Sage Northcutt. Don't have anything against the dude. I think first of all, he's making a lot of money. He's got a good look. He's been successful in certain parts of his career, but the UFC can only do so much of building you up, giving you the money, giving you the sponsorships, giving you the look and all the kind of attention, but then you got to win your fights. Like you said, he's been knocked out a lot of times, and it's no shade to him at all, obviously, but that's a part of it. Same thing now. Think on the flip side, like a Sean O'Malley. People think he's got the look, he's got the demeanor, he's got the media. But if he hasn't won his fights, Conor McGregor, if he didn't win his fights, no one cares about those guys. The reason why they're such big stars is they talk, they got the look, and they are performing. You know, so
Mm.
I want to do my part as a fighter and train my butt off and grind my way through the regional scene. So when I get to that platform, being able to be marketed and seen by so many eyes, that I'm ready to perform and be successful and do my part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. And you not only do you have the look for it, but you got the talk too. Like I could definitely see you in a press conference, like
Right.
telling somebody to fuck off. Not
Hey,
necessarily like Connor, but I could see you getting vicious if you have to.
hey,
Um,
I could talk that shit. I try to keep it, I try to keep it chill and PG. But if it comes down to it, or if I truly don't like somebody, I'll speak my mind for sure, and I could sell tickets.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of the episode, so I want to start asking a couple fun questions.
Go.
Are there any vets currently in the game that you look up to, or vets that you've trained with that you look up to?
You know what? That's one thing, man, I've been blessed with is I've trained with a lot of big, cool names. I've trained with Jon Jones. I've trained with Holly Holm. I've been blessed to train with Brendan Moreno. And each one of those, and not just those three, but all the different people that I've trained with, man, they've given me different advice, different pointers, not only to be as technique, but just as a person, as a good fighter in general, and I definitely look up to those three as far as they're all very talented and but uh I'm definitely blessed to be able to train with a lot of the names that I have, and they've all kind of served their own purpose and inspired me in different ways to bring it towards myself and my own game.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So when you trained with Jon Jones, what there was a crazy size difference.
Yeah.
What did you guys
Hey,
like grapple or like?
I will say this. So, okay, so this is a little backstory because people are like, what the heck, you train with Jon Jones? So, my dad, before Holly Holm was in the UFC, his
Mm-hmm.
company used to sponsor her, and whenever she was on the lower promotions. And so I kind of got a relationship with her and Mike Winklejohn, her coach. And so I got to fly out there and train at her gym. Her gym at Jackson Wink in Albuquerque, New Mexico, has all those huge names: Jon Jones, Holly Holm, Diego Sanchez. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And so when I was there, man, I started when I first went, I was like a kid, but I was like 10 years old. And then I eventually would go back in the summers, like when I was like 13, 15, 17, 18. And, obviously I never trained with him like legit, but I've, grappled with him for fun and different things like that. But I will say, I have subbed him before. Okay, he was messing with me, and he, obviously I was younger, so he kind of let me get in certain positions, and I got in that rear naked choke, bro, and I squeezed with all little 15-year-old Micah's strength inside me, and I made him tap. So I made the goat tap. That's all I gotta say.
I don't want to take this away from you, but he let you get that. He let you
All
get
right,
that.
I'm but hey, still got it. That's still tucked in my resume. Still tucked in my resume.
No, you got to keep it in there. You got to keep it in there. Call Dana right now. Let him know. Let him know.
Hey, oh, John, I'll tell him too. Hey, bro, remember that time I subbed you? Hey, I remember. I keep the receipts.
That's
Obviously,
crazy.
he'll just. Hey, I'll always have that on the resume. You can't take that away from me.
No, absolutely not. All right. So, three dream fights for you.
Ooh, three dream fries. Number one, freaking Chewy Lopez. Same dude I just lost to. I would mollywop him if we fought again. I mean, he's really nowhere on my level. I was just completely on an off night. Still thought I didn't have to win. So that's number one, first and foremost. But I don't ever see him accepting to fight against me because I think he knows he got away lucky, and I don't think he would roll the dice again. Anyways, man, who would I like to fight? You know, hmm, probably Ronda Rousey. I had to give her the hands. If no, I'm just playing. Imagine. Uh, Let me see. I think there's a lot of good flyweights out right now. I think just of a competitive standpoint, I think like a Demetrius Johnson, just of he's the GOAT of the flyweight division. I think obviously he destroys me now. I mean, he's a GOAT, like I said, but just to be able to compete and truly see that high of a level in a competitive standpoint, I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. He's by far the GOAT of the flyweight division. Um, Besides that, mm, if it wasn't my weight class, I'd say maybe like a Dustin Poirier, just because I love his style. He comes to fight every time. Um, and I just think it'd be like a banger war, someone that is not going to back down from you. I love Dustin Poirier. I'm a huge fan of his, and I love his style. So I would love just to compete against that style and throw bang. Even though we're not saying weight class, I think just stylistically, I would love that matchup.
I think Dustin could make 25. But
I don't know.
no, no, just playing, just playing.
I
He
wish
would die. He would not make it.
he,
So
he wouldn't or the sauna. He'd
yeah.
be dead. Yeah.
So, do you have a current next fight plan? Do you have a fight booked for your third pro fight?
Nothing scheduled yet. I know like the time frame I want to do like maybe like September, October.
Okay.
But nothing. They've reached out and we've talked about some different things, but no contract signed, nothing specific yet. Just kind of, I got some other things in life going on right now, man. Like my sister gets married next week. I've been out of town. I've been having to coach some of like the summer kids camps at my wrestling club. So kind of handling some other things in life right now. And then we'll get back and we'll get right back on the horse with the fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope all of that goes well. I hope the wedding goes well. I hope the coaching goes well. Micah, thank you so much for coming on to the Swagcast. Do you want to tell the
My
people where
man.
to find you, where to follow you, shout anything else you're doing out?
Yeah, man. First of all, thank you so much for having me, man. It's been a fun conversation. It's cool.
Of course, brother.
Yeah, man. Dynamite on Instagram. It's really kind of the main social media that I'm on, and just stay tuned. For a lot of people that saw my last fight, that's not me. I know a lot of times, especially in this sport, you're known for your most recent performance, and so I just can't wait to come back and show my fans as well as the MMA community that Dynamite has a lot more in store. So I'm excited to be back. Other than that, I'm excited to be back. I appreciate you so much for having me on, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be watching the fight. I'm already excited for it. All right. So every single Wednesday, brand new episodes. Make sure y'all tune in. And to the people listening on Spotify, smash that goddamn follow button. I know you guys are there. Hit the button. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.